been hit. We know things are going to come forward towards us. We can start building this up for Texo. No, we can't. It's dead. Okay. Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at a viewer submitted list. So this is someone who was in the comments and they've submitted this list and they want to see what I think of it. And they've said that, they've been playing a few games, they've not had a chance to use all the units in the game yet, but this is something they've been having fun with and they wanted a bit of feedback as well. So I wanted to just give it a go and see what happens and see how well it plays. And, I'm not the best player in the world, but I can at least give you a little bit of feedback here and there and let you know what my initial thoughts are as well. So the list we're starting over with Savria Safeguard and Taurian Guardian as our 2-drops. So we've got defensive melee based 2-drops, which is quite an interesting sort of position to be in. Usually you've got something sort of more forward pressing, so you've got something like a Nuisance or a Deadeye or something like that. So we've got a more defensive start here with Gardener Joe, which can again buff them up, protect it a little bit, keep it around a bit longer. We've got Rebuilder Texo, so again more of that defensive style. And then we've got over here, I'm just going to skip to first, with Nekahul, so another defensive unit, but basically we can just bring things back over and over again. If they don't fully kill something, we can just play it again. So unless we're going for a big tempo loss, if we're in a value situation, we can absolutely make good use of Nekahul and potentially deny them points as well. So for the damage sort of section of the list, we've got Furia, who I absolutely love. I think Furia is fantastic. Blindsider Esli, which is really efficient, but is now +2 speed when you have no Cinder and charge. So it's only ever going to be 3 attack, which is interesting. It's not as powerful as it used to be, but I haven't yet used it enough to see how well it's going to work in this new edition, so I'm really interested to try that. We've got Noxie, who I think is a great choice with Gardener Joe. Put the plant down, trigger Noxie, you get a Toxoid, you can attack with Toxoid. It works really nicely. Amplifier Bytol, so we don't have that many things that Bytol I think triggers with. That's going to be one of the things where I'm not sure whether that fits in the list or not. One of the only good synergies, in fact, is Gardener Joe's abilities, but we don't have any movement to sort of go with it. And also Tara Arsenal hitting twice. They're some of the only things that efficiently use Bytol's damage. And then same for Dr. Feelbad. So Feelbad can be very useful, but it's not always going to be. You want as many shots as possible, as much damage, and many attacks as possible. So Maximus does really good on things like that, or anything that could potentially get rapid fire. So Taria works on that front, or attacking from range is quite important, because if you can't get into range, you can't get to melee combat, then Feelbad doesn't do anything. So again, these two are ones that I'm slightly concerned about. Nekahul I've not had much use with yet, and again, Blindsider Esli. But the others I can see having value. Like Taria may seem a lot at 5, but essentially it's 4 damage at the bare minimum. If we've got a Furia, that's 6 damage, even if she hasn't pumped up at all. So there are definitely ways that this could work out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a game, we're going to jump into a ranked game and see how this goes, and hopefully we'll just have some fun. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're really nice number of subscribers, recently 359 I think when I'm recording this, or you can like the video, comment, anything you want to support the channel is really appreciated. But for now, let's see what we get in this game. So Q's pop nice and quickly, and we've just got to find out what we're going to be playing against. I think my game plan on this initially is going to be to try and use really good use out of the speed boost from Gardener Joe. We're against WHVN Wyvern, another Gardener Joe, level 22, nice little Antios portrait up there that you can't quite see, and we get 20 points for victory, 7 for defeat. So let's see how we do here. I do prefer playing in ranked mode because I think it gives you an idea of how lists fare against other people's best lists. And I think that's definitely the way I'd choose to play on the channel. I will sometimes forget, just to clarify. I'll absolutely miss the button. So we've got Jojo. And who's going first? So this is the... Okay, so it's these two, because if we spawn there and there, then it's the 3. So we're going to want to make use of movement speed as much as possible. If they don't do the same thing, then I think that's probably a mistake for them. They don't need plants this early. Yeah, we can deal with plants next turn. The first plants are going to be so far away from being useful, we're just going to be blocking ourselves off. So I feel like if they're... Yeah, whichever way they go. Ooh, charge a Makoa. Okay. So Makoa's reasonable, but I think it's not as much as other people seem to like. So we're going to fertilise ourselves. Just get that extra movement range. We're going to move as far up as we can here. And what do we play? So we've got Rebuilder Texo, Taurian or Savria. honestly, I think Savria's probably the pick. We're just going to play her down. We've already used our leaderships. Cinder, sorry, not leadership. So we're just going to buff her up, let them use Makoa to go for some positioning, but we're just going to put the barrier on next turn, keep ourselves safe, and try and deploy at this rate just behind that. So we should be able to deploy there without it being too big of an issue. And then we're going to try and move in two different directions here. Okay, so they've got Maximus coming in. They could have taken a couple of shots first and been fairly likely to hit us there, but they chose not to, which is fine by me. So the first thing that we're going to do is just go as far as we can without touching that. So to me that looks like we're not touching it. Just gonna put this here. There are a few issues with this, so let's go with that. See what the devs say. The devs agree that we're not touching that. So we can spend 3 Cinder easily. Question is, does this actually protect us? It doesn't, does it? So to contest this, we're going to need to hold the point. So we're going to have to put something down. I think it's probably Torian, and just keep minimising our spend on resources here. We are going to shield barrier. We just want to make sure that isn't... we're not giving ourselves too rough a spot. I do think here maybe we do want to put a plant down. So we'll pop one down this angle, head it towards Maximus, and we'll keep ourselves with the option of moving up here next turn. So this doesn't do anything right now. I believe... yeah, so that didn't do any damage. Oh, in fact, it didn't even hit us. I was convinced that looked like it was going to hit us there. But it's fine. We're nice and safe. So if they keep contesting this point versus us... Whispers. Okay. The thing with Whispers is it doesn't do anything. Like, realistically. They can use Feel the Music so that we can't use... it literally stops Savria's ability, that's it. That's... I mean, this happens, sure. But realistically, that's about it. And we can still just move up and start inconveniencing things. So the good thing about this for them is they can start trying to get our plants and deal with that. I think this is the angle they sort of want to go for. They obviously know we're going to be moving up there. Savria can just slap Whispers a little bit, and we can just try and move our way around. I don't think that Fertilizer is going to quite get us far enough, so we'll have to see. Okay, we do get snared there, so we are going to need to compete at this side with Savria, and that is absolutely fine to do so. So the question is, what do we have here that's big? So Noxie's useful. Noxie we could potentially deploy somewhere nice, so I think what we're going to need to do is pop this down over here, Gardener Joe, and just... I don't think... let's fertilise. Because we can't use that ability anyway, so there's not really much else we need to do. So can we fertilise and move all the way around here? We can. That's nice. So this is part of our plan. It's just to start moving out the way, and then we're going to plant a thorn vine up here. Actually, you know what? Let's just plant it out the way of this. Savria can be our target over here, just to poke Whispers a little bit. Make sure we stay competing. And then we want to get Noxie involved somewhere. So what if we deployed Noxie here and just got ourselves a thorn vine, or do we just try and go... nothing here has charge unless we have no leadership. No Cinder. Honestly, I think I'm just going to pop... I don't actually know what to go for. Let's go with Furia. Let's pop Furia over here. And we're not going to attack because it's Furia. We don't need to. I'm not really sure what the right call is here. This is interesting because Savria's going to be tough to deal with. They can keep just knocking us back and we'll go back. That definitely wasn't hitting both plants. That icon was not on both of them at all. Oh, that is so funny. I do love this about Moonbreaker because it's sometimes just such nonsense. Like, it's fantastic, but that there... one of them was absolutely in. The second one did not appear to be in the slightest because I don't think it even had this icon around it. So the question is, what can they do here? This is just going to be a never-ending situation. We're not worried. Like, Torian is dead. That's fine. We can accept this in our life. The question is, how do we follow up, and what do we do going forwards? It could even be that just rebuild a Texo and just dealing with that and then getting a little bit of aggression over here could be absolutely fine. There we go. So yep, they've used the powerless. We're still protecting here. I mean, okay, so what are we going to have? We're going to have 7 next turn, so we could feel bad, but feel bad doesn't accomplish anything. Antios is going to go for that. Yep. Unfortunately, that is inconvenient, and we don't have much that's going to deal with Antios. So, if we've got Taria, we can't do much else. So, we can deal with Texo, with Makoa at least, so we just pop ourselves a little Thornvine down and just get that 1 damage in. Here is 97%. I think we should be okay here. Knowing my luck, we'll miss it. Okay, we didn't. That's always a nice start. So, how do we want to do this? 7 leadership. Do we have any way of actually killing them? We've got 6 damage here, so that doesn't do it. If we use our abilities, Esley will get us out, but I don't think we can do it, because, funny enough, the only thing that's really upsetting us here is the ability, the lack of ability to use our leadership. Lose our Cinder, sorry. So I think what I'm going to do is just move farther back and just try and use Taria just to start chipping away at things and just maybe just poke Antios a bit. Okay, so we've got a good number of hits here. There's nothing else to play. I am feeling the lack of damage in the list. So it's one bit of sort of, not advice, but sort of one consideration at the moment, is I really don't know how we get enough damage on the board to kill things. We've got Amplifier Bytoll that does increase other units' damage, but it doesn't do that much on its own, so I don't know. I'm not convinced that basically I'm thinking that, like, between Neca Hall and Feelbad, and Texo as well, we really have almost no damage output whatsoever here. So we've been hit. We know things are going to come forward towards us. We can start building this up with Texo. No, we can't. It's dead. Okay. So here's a really good situation for our Noxie. Okay, knocking their own units around. Interesting. They really don't want Savria just contesting this point every turn. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think they've got enough to block us in, really. But I'm not really sure how we compete here. Like, we've got this point fairly surely locked up, but they've got 5 crew and we've got 2. And we've not even lost many, we just haven't had much to do. So losing Taria there is also pretty bad. That's also really bad, because that stops that transforming, which it wouldn't necessarily done. So we can get 4 damage here. Can we get 4 more, is the question. And the worrying part is I'm not sure we can easily do so. Okay, so if we fertilise soil on these, obviously Furia can just come in and get a nice big hit here. We're going to move over here and just place our implant down, just to get 1 more. We're going to keep bothering Whispers. We will play rebuild a Texo. So if Texo comes in here, we can reinforce there, which is nice, and hit for 1 point. And then we can play our Blindsider Esley, and it should have charge. There we go. So the question is, how do you want to do this? I think we just want to basically wall this off a little, but I think staying as far back as possible. Like, these are relatively safe. We've got ourselves, like, we're slightly ahead. Here's the thing. So we're not behind. Whispers is an inconvenience, but what I would usually be trying to do in this situation is play like a high damaging unit and you're taking out the enemy crew, because that's our best way of scoring points. So here feels like we can sort of set up a little fortress, we can slow the game down a bit, but how we actually win is going to be a challenge, I think, because they've easily got enough. Like, Antios is slightly short. Like, the fact that we've been able to hold this away is one of the only saving graces in what we've done. If they push for this, which I think they should do, because they can do a 5 here, and then one here. They've got this sorted out. But that's one of the only things that they've got really to do, I suppose. We can start pushing a bit of damage in next turn. If they come too far forward with Antios, we can deal with that. This is going to be just consistently annoying. We can't really deal with Snareling. What we can do, though, is use Nekahal to pick Blindsider Esli back up and put him down again. We don't have the leadership for it quite yet, but... yeah, so Fixer's... if Fixer's buffing Antios, that gives us even more incentive to just try and deal with Antios here. Like, there is not much that I want to do more than try and kill that thing right now. We don't want them having more resources. We don't want them having access to things that, you know, help. Okay, yep. Texo as well. So, if they don't do the attack, that would be pretty bad. Come on, OP. Attack. Attack. Oh, that was the wrong choice. Okay, so... again, this scoring is really saving the game for us. This is taking a lot of damage. Can we even get through now? Okay, we can. Right, so we're going to fertilise all of these. Because this is the right thing to do. We're going to bring Texo in this way because we can't quite get to Antios from that angle. So Texo's just coming here.
Anger is petty.
I actually think Zhou probably moves back and just tries to nourish this side. Honestly, I don't actually know if Furia can do anything here. Like, she probably just has to shoot Whispers. And just go for a good angle into Whispers and just deal with it that way. Which is fine, but it does also mean that we take that point off of them. This is not bad. So what if we put Noxie down? Let's put Noxie down first. We'll take the damage because we know that's how this works. So we use that to poke Antios. And then we'll just send some of our resources over here. So they can't do everything. I guess we plant a Thorn Vine there. Sure. Reinforce somewhere. Reinforce Saria. Oh, Saria, hit. Oh, we did hit. It's fine. So, again, we're sort of relying on... oh, our opponent conceded. I think they realised that we were gradually getting points up. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. That was... like, I do think we were likely to win that. We were getting... yeah, we were getting the damage through. They did have a lot of resources spent already. But that wasn't a sure win by any means. So... looking at this, like I said in the game, first we get a couple of level ups. What do we get? Texo and Feelbad, nice. And let's see our opponent's list. So we saw Makoa, Whispers, Snareling, Texo, Antios. We didn't see Tantan. We saw Fixer, Maximus, and Switchback. So they only had Zaporenki and Tantan left, which I do think is going to be hard to come back at that point because we held that back point for so long that I think it's just going to tip us the victory in our favour. So in that game, I didn't really feel like Torian accomplished much. It did get Snarelinged early on, but that's fine. But I do think we need a bit more range damage because otherwise we're just going to get sort of zoned out of the game. So there's nothing in the early game that allows either Saria or Torian to get into range. The movement from Zhou is not usually going to be enough. And like I mentioned, I don't think this list really benefits as much from Bytel and Feelbad because it doesn't have that aggressive early game. So I think these two would be my first cuts. Nekahal would probably be a consideration as well. I actually think that... so Nekahal basically returns it to your bridge, you can play it again, that's fine. It could have been useful there for Blindsider Esli, but what I actually think is that between Texo and Nekahal, both of those could probably just be replaced with Stitchy. And, you know, Stitchy isn't incredible, but it can heal your captain, whereas Texo can't. The extra health from Texo, I find, doesn't come in very often whatsoever. So my first thoughts is more damage, less utility, and maybe just a few tweaks as well. So as much as I love Torian, it's one of my favourite units, I think Torian I would be switching if I'm trying to sort of make this list this a bit more sort of on meta. I think Deadeye is a great choice for that because it's a 2-drop, it allows you to have early pressure. I actually don't mind Saria. I think Saria is really good for holding points. You can play her down, use the shield barrier to defensively hold something. I actually think that's quite nice, but I think we need Deadeye over Torian. Torian just... because Torian no longer buffs itself as well, you can just choose to kill Torian first, and it doesn't matter as much. So Texo, I think, is a swap for Stitchy. I do think in the majority of cases, Stitchy is cheaper and just works better. So you're healing 5 health rather than potentially 2, is it, for Texo? Yeah, so 2 for Texo and maybe increasing max health versus healing 5 is a massive difference. Healing that on your captain can just change the entire race of the game. So I think that's a nice change. Now, with these, and having a look a little bit more, like, Blindside Arrest, I basically think is just a worse hit and run. It's not bad, but it sometimes has charge and has 3 attack. Whereas if you swap that for hit and run as a 5-drop, it always has charge and has 4 attack. So I think that's a nice change as well. Like, I don't think Blindside SD is bad, but I think hit and run is better. It's just a better unit. It does cost more, but we're trying to cheapen other units and you make other things a bit cheaper, and I think that's a nice option here. I'm perfectly happy leaving Amplifier Bytel. I think that's a pretty reasonable chance. Like, it doesn't always have a good target, but every so often it's useful. The problem with it is obviously we've got things like Gardener Joe and Neckerhall in the list, and so there are units that actually don't deal damage. So Bytel isn't always going to be as sort of useful as that, but finding things that can make good use out of Bytel, Taria, and Feel Bad is going to be difficult with all 3, and I think Feel Bad as the most expensive is the one that should go. So what do we want to fill in from here? Now, obviously we've got we've got Amplified Bytel, who is trying to buff up ranged units most of the time. Melee does work, but ranged works most of all. It does work with Crash, but I think here we want to be looking at something else. So if I was to put in another ranged unit, I think Arya just is incredible. Really, really consistent range damage. She's got ambush, she can take things out. I don't see myself playing any list without Arya whatsoever. And then I do think Neckerhall is the last thing that I'd consider changing. And this is me making the list a bit more generic, but I do think there are sort of things in here that don't quite add up. So wanting to figure out what to do with Neckerhall. Now, we want to make good use of Gardener Joe's ability. We want to play defensive, find a good spot. And I actually think, funny enough, even though this looks like a more aggressive lineup, I think this list plays it relatively well, because we've got Savria that can hold points, we've got Hit and Run that can literally hit and run, Deadeye can sometimes fire from behind terrain, Furia wants to take the time sort of stack back up and heal up, we've got Resilient Noxie. So realistically we've only actually got this sort of trio here that don't interact really very well defensively. So the last thing we want is to probably replace Neckerhall. Again, we just had too much redundancy in terms of healing and value, and I don't think Neckerhall's going to do it. However, we don't have a sort of a big finish. I'm tempted by Florio. Florio is just a nice bombard. Ambush, again, is a really important keyword. It can help you score points that you otherwise wouldn't, and I think that might be where this list wants to go, because also, if we look at the roster itself, we don't have that many abilities now. So we've got obviously Arya, but hopefully she wants to use it once. Taria is great to use, but we're not always going to need it. And then realistically, these are 1 each. These don't take anything to play whatsoever. Nothing here, nothing here. We can use Gardener Joe occasionally. None of these are must-use abilities every turn, so we can afford to swap something out. And again, if we're going for a big finisher, my personal choice would probably be Florio. I think the more I find at the moment, a big AoE unit for the late game can really, really make a big difference. The only other thing I'd be... Oh, what did I swap out here? Hang on, I was trying to swap out Neckerhall. What did I just swap out? It wasn't Bytel. What was in this list? It wasn't Cloakatozy. Hit and Run. I've just removed something and I don't know what I've pulled out. I put in Arya. Texo's gone. I have no idea what I've just taken out of this list. Oh, no, it wasn't Feel Bad. We wanted Florio. Don't get through. Noxie, there we go. We want Noxie. That's what it was. So then swap out Neckerhall. Neckerhall for Florio. And the interesting thing with Florio as well is that Florio also just gives you another way of triggering your Noxie if you need to. So we don't have many ways of triggering it ourselves other than Gardener, but you've got that as a little backup as well. Obviously a little anti-synergy here, but I think Vitals for a case where you just need that little bit more damage, and it will work better with some of the other units. I think this is the way that I'd go with this list. So I think Deadeye is just better than Torium. I think so just in general, I think it's just a really useful thing to have some options for range damage early on, and really, really great unit. You've already got defensive ability at Saria. Hit and run for that sort of, literally hit and run. It does provide a lot of value, much more than Blindside or Esli does, and does largely the same job. Stitchy over Texo, I think it's just more efficient. We like Furia, we like Noxie. Bytol can kind of work now as well. Taria works well, especially with Bytol, and now we've got things like, we've still got Furia to do sort of the double up and damage there, but again, it's just a nice little bit of extra and works quite well with Aria as well, especially at long range. So Aria in over Feelbad, and then we put Florio in over Necker Hall as just a nice little way of having a bit of ranged, long distance damage, and don't underestimate Ambush, it can win you games on its own. So there we have it. That is my adjustments to the list. That's what I would do. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really trying to push for 500, hopefully by October. That would be incredible. By the end of October this is. That would mean a lot to me, but if not, any comment means a lot. Any comment. Any comment. Just comment. Forget the rest. Thank you so much for watching. And most importantly, have a good day.